David Tamulevich began his musical career in 1975 with the formation of the duo Mustard's Retreat, with which he still performs. Mustard's Retreat has been delighting audiences by telling stories for 40 years. They are witty, insightful, fun, and profound, as well as accomplished songwriters and musicians. Mustard's Retreat has always sung the songs they enjoyed and cared about, regardless of the trends of the music industry and pop culture. They've traveled more than 1 million miles and performed more than 6,000 shows, from pig roasts and pool parties to Lincoln Center out of doors, the Barns at Wolf Trap, and the Kennedy Center's Millennium Stage. Please welcome David Tamulevich. Hello, David, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much for doing this.
You're originally from Branford, Connecticut, is that right?
Yes, yes, I am.
And what brought you're in Michigan now?
Yeah, I came out, I graduated high school in 1970, went to American University for 2 years, decided I wanted to study wildlife and forestry, and Michigan had a great school for that. I came out here for 1 year, and I quit to get my residency because out of state tuition was so expensive. And the best job I could find was as a dishwasher, a local dive, and pretty soon I became, assistant pizza guy, then head of pizza, then cook, and head of the weekend. And in that process, I met a guy named Michael Huff, who was also a musician, and we started playing together off and on. And then he got, this is a long story, but he got playing bass with somebody else. I went for my first audition to a place called the Old Heidelberg, which is still here on Main Street. The bartender there, her name was Libby Glover. The boss said, "What do you think?" She said, "Hire him." And because she liked all the music that I did, and she knew most of it because had been a professional singer. So so then we got going, and Michael joined up in a couple of months, and we had it was a trio. We were a trio for a while. Then Libby moved off to the south, and Michael and I did it for about 35 years. And Libby came back about 8 years ago, and we were a trio until Michael retired about 5 or 6 years ago.
Do you ever imagine what the world could be like if as many people listened to Mustard's Retreat as they do to artists like Beyonce?
you know, we are satisfied with our audience because growing up in Branford, I volunteered. There was a high school coffee house called Bubbit, and I was volunteer there. And then I started going to the New Haven folk music places, the Exit and the Enormous Room, and seeing people like Randy Burns and Mike Pope, who are and I got thrilled about it. Now I forget why I'm going there, um, but I got inspired by them, the connection, the community that formed around them, and inspired by Pete Seeger's first cruise up the Hudson River in 1969. Connecticut Public TV, Pete's son had made a movie of that, and to me it was everything that was good. Really, it just represented everything that was good. It was meaning well, and reverence for each other and for the earth, and for just for people over profits, community. And I feel so privileged, and so does Libby, to have been able to do this. This is, next year, February, starts our 50th year of doing this, and it really has been an honor and a privilege. So, it's really not about the money, especially if you're in folk music, but about the connections you made and the people who have been really strongly affected by some of my songs. It's an incredibly humbling experience to think that I got moved by the music when I was in high school, and to have people get that moved by what I've done. It's amazing. It's
I
amazing.
probably should have prefaced that last question by they saying what wholesome feel good songs you have in your catalog. And um you're keeping the folk tradition alive, and thank you, because your music is wonderful.
Well, thank you, thank you. You know, I started to go to those coffee houses in New Haven. I would come home singing, "Oh, it's all for me grog, a jolly, jolly grog," and you know, I was singing like Irish drinking songs and sea shanties. And to give my parents credit, they never once questioned where their son their son was going. And yeah, you know, and again, you know, I don't even drink, you know, but it was the emotion and the connection and the electricity in people singing. I mean, you know, it created a moment, and it was community and a shared joy, and that's what I've always tried to do. Is you know, so yeah, I write some silly things, but I write some pretty profound things, and those have had um, you know, a great effect out there. You know, our albums have gotten lots of raves, and that again, that is humbling.
It
So,
seems to just come naturally to you. I've only been listening to your music for about 24 hours now, and I caught myself singing along to your tunes all day today. They're just kind of infectious in a way. They're easy to follow, and very good stories.
well, that's what we went for. We never, you know, we got popular very fast in the 1970s, and because we were just doing what we loved. I mean, I was singing old Irish drinking songs and some originals, and Michael was doing the same thing, and just having a great time with people. And it wasn't we weren't doing what was popular. You know, it was just we just did what we wanted to do, and I think doing that and being honest about it with people was what made us popular. You know, in the bars, we were playing bars back then, and the bars were very happy because the rooms were full, but they weren't happy because people were drinking Coca-Cola and coffee, and not as much hard liquor and beer. But they again they liked the community that came in,
Mm.
and so did we. You know, so we never tried to be commercial successes. I mean, it was always, you know, and when you know I got married and I wanted to be a dad, it was at the same time where we realized, you know, the bars we were successful in the bars, you know, but it was not what we wanted to do. We wanted to really focus ourselves on concerts and the
Mhm.
people who were there to listen, and that's what we started to do in the early '80s. That you know, and I didn't want to be a full-time musician. I wanted to be a dad, and so you know we cut back to what we were doing, but we were still playing and recording, and fortunately, it just you know it's just like a slow burn, a steady rise. You know,
Mm.
before the pandemic, we were doing 40 to 50 shows a year, which is about all we could handle, and now it's about 30 a year, and that's fine. You know, and it's like,
Mhm.
and it's such a privilege to come out and play somewhere like Black Bear is just you know you do a festival and people you get in front of people who don't know you.
Hmm. And
And
you've played at Black Bear Americana Music Festival before. Do you have any favorite memories from previous years?
well, I think the site is spectacular.
Yes.
I mean, it is a spectacularly beautiful place, and that it's got the outbuildings there, you know, in case of rains or for workshops and stuff.
Mm.
But I remember the really tremendous sound, and it's a tremendously beautiful place, just to come and and to hear music and relax and be with friends and um, share a moment. Good for the soul. Good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like I could go on hours and talking about you and your career and all of your beautiful music. There's a question that's been I've been pressing to ask. You're also a music agent and a music manager for other artists.
Yes.
And I see in your bio that you were instrumental in developing the career of my all-time favorite singer-songwriter, Ani DiFranco. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got involved with her?
Well, I think I didn't know how to be an agent when I became an agent. I was looking for some way to make money and not be on the road.
Mhm.
And I did a radio show for a while, and I wrote for a newspaper. But it seemed like representing people who I was passionate about um, was a good way to do it. And so by the time Ani DiFranco was coming along, I built a reputation for representing songwriters who were. It's like John Gorka, who I've worked with the longest. He says it's about the music, and it's about the connection with the audience, and those are the first two things. And I looked for people who cared about that, who wanted a career as opposed to a hit and make a lot of money, get famous. I didn't like working with people like that, because that's not where my heart was. My heart was with singer-songwriters who had something to say and were affecting people in a profound way. And by the time Ani came along, she was starting to do that. And she had ethics. She had values and ethics, and was not and being a commercial success was not high on her agenda. you know
Mm.
and that is what I represented out there. At the time, this kind of was the singer-songwriter label for you know for content and integrity. And I think that's why she came to the agency, because that's what we did. You know, yeah, and it was pretty thrilling. You know,
I can tell just from a little bit I read about you and from just the past few minutes and talking with you that you care about more about what you stand for and connecting with your audience than the fame or fortune. And I was
yes.
thinking, if claps were dollar bills, I imagine you could buy the presidency if you wanted to.
Well,
Do you?
it has been very. People have appreciated it.
Mm.
And that's a nice feeling. I mean, you don't get, again, you don't get rich in folk music representing people who have something to say in integrity and aren't there to that it's not a stepping stone for them to get more famous. And but you do get, it's a great and rewarding life. And the relationships are, that to me is the most important thing. I mean, I helped build a touring circuit out there by having relationships. And there are people I've worked with for 30, 40 years that,
Mm.
the thing was to treat them like I wanted to be treated, just to be honest, and and not to try to squeeze them for money. But they were, and people tell me that I don't claim that any of this is original. I stand on the back of many, many other really fine people who have done this. But for me, not knowing what to do, I just treated people like I wanted to be treated. And I always thought, if the deal we make doesn't work for the artist and for the promoter and for me, then there's something wrong with it.
Right.
So I would, I would set things up that we weren't exorbitant in what our requests were for guarantees, but there'd be a good back end that everybody would make out, and and I think that was the basis for a lot of this, because this allowed promoters to make money on shows, and because this is a volunteer, um, for the most part, the folk music circuit is run by volunteers, and you can't be a volunteer and be losing money and still be enthused. And so I tried to make it, and so did my artists. Tried to make it possible for these venues to succeed, and to build a relationship with them. And my thought was, well, if the venue is making money, and and I knew that my artists were really quality, and that audiences would be thrilled, then in a year or so, the venue would be there and be happy to bring my artists back. And I figured that was the way for them to build, and for the presenters to build their series.
Right.
And I think that was really a successful thing. And I'll tell you one story about Falcon Ridge, that is at the same location as Black Bear. The first time we played at Black Bear, Ann Saunders from Falcon Ridge came and saw us, and I've worked with Ann for many years, and she liked the site, and so Falcon Ridge is held there. But there was one year when I think 11 of the artists I represented were playing at Falcon Ridge, which is a huge number. It was most of my roster, but it was because they were not asking exorbitant money. They were interested, and this is all to the credit of the artists. They were all interested in helping Falcon Ridge grow, and Falcon Ridge took the chance on Ani DiFranco before anybody else did. I went to them and said, "Look, this is somebody she is kind of wildly different from everybody else, but she's got heart, and people are excited, and I think she would work." And to Falcon Ridge's credit, they put her on, and I think it was the first festival that ever did Ani, and she became a sensation there. And then when they had, I don't know, it was a storm or something, when Ani had become pretty big and Falcon Ridge was having trouble, she came back there and basically helped save the festival.
Ah.
And that's that's what I love. I mean, that's like they had a relationship with Falcon Ridge. They trusted me. I gave them somebody who just made a huge difference, and she appreciated that fact. And when they were in need of help, she came back and helped them out. There is like, that's the whole point of this. It's the whole point of this.
It's funny. I've spoken with some of the other artists that are performing, and I'm getting that sense from everybody that everybody's pitching in for the good of the audience and playing good music and networking with other artists. And it seems to be a really close-knit community at the Black Bear Festival.
Yes, yeah. Black Bear is just carrying that on. I mean, it's wonderful to see, and they again, Falcon Ridge is supportive of Black Bear. Black Bear is supportive of Falcon Ridge. It's like it's not a competition, And when I first got into this and helped form the International Folk Alliance, back before the internet, cell phones, everything people knew, you sort of knew from the music industry, and it was smoke and mirrors and competitive.
Yeah.
And very soon it became clear, like, no, we're a community. We can be cooperative, and we are stronger when we're cooperative. When we don't see each other as competition. And I use Black Bear and Falcon Ridge as the examples of, they're equally glad to send people to the other festival, because this music scene, it's about supporting this music scene.
Mm.
And So yes, Black Bear is just, doing wonderful things.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to seeing you. I believe you're going to be performing on Saturday on the acoustic stage.
Yes, Saturday morning, and
Excellent.
yep. And then we're off to that night. We have a show in Schenectady, and, and it's kind of life on the road, but that's that's the way it falls, and we're happy to have the work, and
Well,
we're
I see if
happy to be back at Black Bear, and I'm so happy to be back in my home state.
mm, the big smile on your face just tells me how much you love it all.
you know, I do, I have really been blessed for the shy teenager that I was, not knowing my way in the world. This was the music was the revelation, was the heart and soul, and this community gave me a path to follow, and again, it's the people along the path that have been supportive
Mm.
that made it possible for me to do what I'm doing now, and I'm so grateful. It's been a life well lived.
I can imagine. Well, David, thank you very much for chatting with me, and definitely looking forward to seeing you at the Black Bear Americana Music Festival.
Me too, and it is really a great festival. I really want to urge people, just come on out.
Mm.
It's an unbelievably beautiful place, and God, it's just the beginning of fall. It's uh, it's
The leaves are gorgeous, and the rolling green hills and the backdrop there of the mountains, just
I mean,
gorgeous.
this is what New England is.
Yeah.
No offense to Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, but it's like, here it is.
All right. Well, thank you very much, David.
All right, thank you very much, Mark. I look forward to meeting you.
And you too.
Bye bye.